It's loose in front, and they deflect it home. Back in front. Low slot, they score. The zone at the point. From the center of the zone, it goes home. A wrist shot.
Welcome to Top of the Hill here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Chris Lehman with you. I'll be your host tonight for Behind the Bench with Jeff Volkman. We've got conversations with players, coaches, boosters, assistant coaches, all coming up here on the show tonight. We're going to start it off, though, by talking with a few of the players here on this Tar Heel hockey team. To my right, I've got Daniel Jones, Jesse Jacobs, and Patrick Kramer here with us. Guys, I want to start out as we come down towards the end of the season. You guys have two regular season games left coming up this weekend. Then you're into the postseason tournament. So how's everybody holding up? I know a hockey season can be a rough season.
Yeah, it's probably been one of the tougher years I've been through when it comes to injuries. But I think we've definitely been handling pretty well. Lots of guys have gotten more ice time because of it, and I think we really took it in stride.
And Jesse, I'll let you talk a little bit about the injuries as well.
Yeah.
That's something that's been a little bit tough. You have some guys like Noah Friedman, Jake Weiland.
Yeah, that was, he was definitely producing on the score sheet every night for us, so that was kind of a big loss. It was nice to get him back for that first PNC game. But obviously he's looking forward to the next couple years, and he wants to make sure that he's pretty healthy. We have one of our defensemen out right now. Hopefully he'll be back for playoffs. I'm not sure if he's coming back this weekend, but it's kind of a long season, and guys get banged up. I mean, these are competitive games, and so it happens. But we have had other guys step up when it counts, and we've been doing pretty well.
And Patrick, I'll let you talk about a little bit about what you guys have coming up, what you guys are feeling coming into this weekend, because you guys have, while you're playing two ACCHL opponents this weekend, they're not league games. So you're kind of sitting there when it comes to the playoffs and just watching to see how things fall out. How are you guys feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, it not being a league game obviously kind of takes a lot of the pressure off. I think a lot of us are definitely feeling, definitely a lot more lax going into this weekend. Our pressure's not as high, for sure. But I think definitely this weekend is going to be a huge tune-up weekend for us going into the playoffs the next week. I think we got to do big here this weekend. I think we're all energetic. I think we all want to do well so that we can attack next weekend full power.
And getting back to full power certainly is very important for you guys. Talk to you specifically, Daniel, as the defenseman up here. You guys played the last time we saw you out at Orange County Sportsplex. Last time we had you guys, it was just 4 defensemen for you guys against Virginia Tech. How was that experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot longer than that, I think. I think this whole semester we've been playing 4 deep, but it's being out there for half the game pretty much can definitely get you winded come the third period, but it's something that you can kind of get used to, and when you've been doing it for a few games, your fitness gets better, and it's something that we all gotten used to at this point.
And having to play those long minutes, all 3 of you guys have had to do that at some point this season. What extra experience do you get from that? What do you take away from that that really helps out throughout the season?
Well, I mean, you can't take a shift off. I mean, we started off early in the year. I think we were running 3 lines, so everyone had to contribute. There was no real, you couldn't really rely on a 4th line because we didn't have one. We've gotten a couple extra bodies, after the second half, so it's nice to have some extra guys, and they're contributing great. So, we just make sure that we don't get too relaxed on the bench, even though we have a little bit more guys. But, with the injuries, guys are still having to step up, and like DJ said before, our D's really stepped up. They've been short this whole year. And so, I mean, they've really been, on the back end for us, so it's been helping out a lot.
And when you're short guys, leadership is certainly something that you have to turn to. You need when you're short on the bench. And we'll get to you here for this question, Patrick. There are some guys that will be leaving the team this year. I think the big one is the captain and Kyle Oliveira. Talk about the kind of senior leadership and the older leadership you guys have on this team.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm going to miss Kyle Oliveira a lot. I mean, he's definitely been a huge part of my happiness with the team, a lot of just connecting. I mean, he's just a great guy all around. He's going to be a tough one to lose here next year. He's been my locker room guy. He's been next to me both the years I've been here. His leadership's been huge. I think he's been huge in pushing the guys forward, staying positive throughout the whole season, even though you're injured, just pushing through, making sure like you're keeping your body and mind right. I think he does a great job of just making sure everyone's doing all right. I think that's going to be a huge thing to lose.
And Jesse, you're one of the older guys on the team. It is only your first season here, but you're one of those senior leaders on the team as well.
Yeah, it was nice. Obviously I was a little slower than all these young bucks, growing up. So I tried to use my voice, kind of something that I couldn't use in the past. And it's been really nice, trying to help out where I can, whether it's in the locker room or on the bench and on the ice, when I'm lucky enough. So it's been great. But our leadership has been really good. In the younger guys like Mason and Chris, moving up when Kyle leaves, I think the team's going to be in a lot of good hands, moving forward.
And we'll take a look, too, as we come here closer to the end of our first segment here behind the bench with head coach Jeff Volkman. Talk a little bit about that end of the season. We have the playoff picture not in the rearview mirror, but we're really looking at that now because you're down to the last few games. You guys are sitting right now just on the edge, but we have certainly plenty of moving parts left. What is the focus for you guys? Obviously, you're going to have to play who you have to play, but what are the things you're looking at this weekend when it comes to getting that playoff picture set?
Yeah, I think obviously we're in a better position than we are now, but we have to. We've been taking it ever since our last game. We're playing on the playoffs, and that's just been our mindset. No matter who we're playing against, we have to bring it.
All right, well, and we'll kind of wrap this segment up just real quick from all three of you. What is the mindset and the drive going forward, particularly as you get into the playoffs? What's the team collective mindset?
I think we just got to play our game. Coach has been stressing, just sticking to our game for the entire year, and we have to make sure that everything's fine-tuned. We can't be concerned about who we're playing. We just got to make sure we go out and play our game, and we know we can be successful when we do that.
All right, Patrick, we'll get a quick answer from you as well.
Yeah, I was going to agree with Jesse there. Just focusing on us and our team, making sure we're making the crisp passes, making sure the puck's going back in the net, and make sure we're taking it to them.
All right, well, Daniel, Jesse, and Patrick, thank you so much for joining us here. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll have assistant coaches Tim Bukowski and Ben Sisemore here on Behind the Bench with Jeff Volkman. Welcome back to Behind the Bench with Jeff Volkman, Chris Lehman, your host here, and now I'm joined by the assistant coaches that are behind the bench with Coach Volkman during those games. Tim Bukowski, Ben Sisemore, you've heard from them throughout the season. Now we'll get a chance to talk a little bit more extended time about what you guys do with the team. We'll start out just talking a little bit about Coach's demeanor behind the bench. We've talked to him on the camera, we've talked to him off the ice, so we get a good feel of what he's like outside of the glass, but what's he like inside the glass?
Oh, Coach Volkman's the epitome of calm. Nothing rattles him. He always knows what to do, what line to put out. He's always calm, always calm.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, sometimes you get coaches on the bench that are yelling and screaming at their players or taking it out on the refs, but he knows the right time to push a button on the players, and he knows what to say to the refs at the right time of the game. He's got a tough job this year too because of our players' injuries and so forth, substituting lines together and trying to cobble things together. He's done a great job with that, I think.
And certainly as assistants, you're there to assist in whatever way you can. We'll start with you, Tim. We talked about it a little bit, I think, early on in the season, but what is your role as an assistant coach on this team?
I see myself as just supporting Jeff and trying to help him with the forward lines. I kind of give a little insight to the forwards here or there where their opportunities might lie on the ice. As I said, Jeff is out there and cobbling the lines together, sending out who's next. So it's a pretty easy job for me to do, just to kibitz a little bit and give him my thoughts here or there.
And Tim, talk to you a little bit too. We'll get to Ben here in a second, because you came into this as a former player of the team, but how did you get involved with UNC Hockey?
Well, I've been coaching in the area for about 25 years. In fact, about 2 or 3 of the guys in the team I coached when they were a lot younger. I've been coaching, and as time got on, I got into the USA Hockey coaching education system. So when Jeff and Ben came to our class a year or 2 ago, I was talking to the guys after the class and mentioned my kids have grown up, and some of them are still playing college hockey in other cities, but said I'm available if they needed a hand, and Jeff called me last year, so kind of the right time and right opportunity for me in my phase of my career.
That's certainly a good way to get into it, and plenty of experience. Now, you as a player, how's the transition been going from being on the bench to being behind the bench?
Right. I think we've talked about this earlier in the season, but it's hard to. There's a different level of intensity you have to have as a player versus a coach, where you see maybe a ref or a call you don't like, or you want, when you're a player, you want to protect your teammates and everything like that. As a coach, you have to remain calm and work with your players to help them bridge the gap when their emotions get high, or if they're feeling low on the bench. You have to be that guiding light to bring them back to center, to refocus them. So as a player, I was a little bit more emotional, and now I have to kind of tone it back a little bit.
And certainly when you look at it, you've had plenty of experience coaching, Tim. Ben, you're kind of getting into that, so I'm sure there are different kind of styles that you guys have as coaches. So how do you relate to the players, and what's your kind of coaching style, Tim?
Well, as I said, I've been coaching for about 25 years, and I got to give Ben great credit that when I see myself back when I was in my 20s or early 30s, it was easy to get emotionally connected and upset during a game, and the players could see it, and everyone on the ice could see it. But he's done a great job of holding his emotions in and pushing the buttons at the right time. And I kind of have laid back a little bit. I'm a lot less vocal on the bench than I used to be. I think that's an experience, comes of age, because the truth is the players can't really hear what you're saying. They do read your emotion on the bench. If you're getting frustrated, they understand they have to step it up a bit. But, you know, as far as their action on the ice, what you've done in practice is what they're going to show on the ice. So if you're getting upset at them for how they're producing on the during a game, it's kind of have to get upset at yourself for how you ran the practice the day before or for the weeks prior to that.
And I'm sure it's a little bit easier for the guys to look at you and see a coach than it is Ben, since you're a little bit younger. So what's it like trying to balance that relationship, because I'm sure you still have some friends on the team, with being their coach as well?
Right. I think it's just honesty. I'm not. I coach the D, and it's no to people who have followed the team. I didn't play D, so I try and bring a forwards perspective to them. But it's just being upfront and honest with what I'm looking for. I'm not going to be in their face screaming and yelling at them, because a lot of the times I've found that they know when they've made a mistake. So I don't need to tell them, because they know they've messed up or turn the puck over. They don't need me telling them that. So how I try and approach it is not the typical coach who's much older, kind of wise experience. It's more just, hey, I saw this play happen, or I saw that this guy was open here, kind of look for that. It's not so much a telling them what to do as it is telling them what to look out for, or what to because they're in the middle of the game, they might not have seen something. So it's just pointing those things out to them and trying to keep that even keel that I was talking about earlier.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for taking some time to join us. This is assistant coaches Tim Bukowski, Ben Sisemore, who've been behind the bench with head coach Jeff Volkman for the entire season. We thank you guys, first of all, for being on tonight, and second of all, for coming over and talking to us on the highs and during the lows throughout the season, before, during, and after games. So thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
All right, that will wrap up our second segment here on Behind the Bench with head coach Jeff Volkman. When we come back, we'll have a couple of special guests that work more behind the scenes with the team, and we'll get to that right after this. Welcome back to Top of the Hill here on Franklin Street in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I'm host Chris Lehman, now joined by Colin Wahl and head coach Jeff Volkman. Colin, more of a behind-the-scenes guy for UNC Hockey. We're getting him out into the limelight a little bit here tonight, so to talk a little bit about what you do, because you do a lot behind the scenes for this team. I think it's safe to say you're a little bit more than the treasurer for this hockey club.
Yeah, any way I can help. I guess our number one objective is just to help the team raise money and funds. The school provides some funding, the players provide some funding, and the third leg of the stool in terms of funding is the booster club. So, we get involved with planning events to raise money, reaching out to donors in the community to raise funds, selling merchandise, jerseys, whatever we can think of. So, but it's fun, I enjoy it, and it's it's great to be able to help the guys in any way we can.
And Jeff, I'll give you a chance here to chime in a little bit. You know a little bit more than I do, too, about what Colin does for this team.
You know, whatever we need. You know, we're a startup, you know, company, if you will, and you know he's here to support the vision of the program, and he understands that, you know, to do that and support the vision, it requires a lot of funding, and among other things. But you know, he's bought into all this. He's really we're good we caught him in his retirement years because he's very bright. He's owned a business before, so you know, he brings that acumen in, and you know what he does, what he's done so far is priceless, and has really advanced the program.
So what do you enjoy about being around the team?
So I mean, I love hockey. I still play in the men's league once a week, and really enjoy that. So it kind of keeps me in the game, and I get to watch the games, which is always fun. Get to know the players a little bit, and you know, it's just an exciting sport. I've been involved in it since probably like 5 or 6 years old. So why not keep it going?
Yeah, and Jeff mentioned they got you kind of at the right time. So how did you get involved specifically with UNC?
Well, that's an interesting story. So I went to a game last year, and I think in that particular game I was the only fan in the stands. And there was a guy collecting fees at the entrance. And I felt kind of bad for him. I mean, he had one paying fan. And I said, look, if there's anything I can help you out with, let me know. I gave him my card, and I think 3 or 4 months later he reached out, and that's how it all started with me.
It's certainly been a huge help to this team and getting them going this year. We'll talk a little bit as well about how you've seen this team evolve, not just on the ice but off the ice throughout the course of the season and your experience with them.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's you know, I've been watching them in the early stages of this year, practicing together, and just gelling as a team, coming together. You can see the passing, the team play is you know, starting to take hold in the early months, and it's just fun to watch you know, the team gel, compete, and you go through all the ups and downs. You know, winning games, losing, recovering, getting back into it. It's fun to be an observer of all that.
And what's been the biggest help to you, Coach, with having somebody who can help with the logistics of the game day setup?
Well, he follows through with what he says he's going to do. That's first and foremost. But you know, we're trying to create a very player-centric environment, and he understands it and he gets it. You know, he's just from across the border. He's a Canadian, so they were kind of born coming out of the ice with a hockey stick. You ever see that commercial? I think that's how he was born.
True.
But all kidding aside, he loves the sport. He's passionate about it, and that's really what you want in any organization, right? And you know, we're here to give the players a great environment. You know, something they can be proud of when they leave here, and that's precisely what Colin's delivering.
And certainly you can see the shift ever since you've taken over about 5-6 years ago, Coach. You can see the organization turning around and producing, and even seeing, particularly towards the end of the season, a pretty full crowd at Orange County Sportsplex to watch some of these games as well. So what have you liked most about the way this team has developed over the season with that?
Well, I think you just hit it, you know, and the players like to see, you know, people supporting them. And, you know, just all the support and the things we get off the ice, you know, matters. And so they can do their job on the ice. And that just makes it easier for me and our coaches here to do our job. You know, when kids want to come to practice and they want to play and they want to be a part of the team and they're fighting to be a part of the team and they're buying into our process and system, you know, that's a testament to what they're doing off the ice. And you really need that. These guys don't get enough credit, but really they deserve all the credit because, you know, building a program costs a lot of money, and we're about halfway to our goal, you know, in terms of operating budget. But I'm very confident we'll get there.
And it was certainly, I was at NC State for a while. I think I mentioned earlier this season, and this kind of has the feel of where they were when I was there in terms of building the fan base and getting to that kind of level. And so there are certainly programs you look at it and say, hey, I want to get to that point. What is the vision? What are the goals moving forward in developing this program and this organization?
Well, I guess you know, I'll start with that, but I think it's really as Coach said, you know, to really, even it's a club hockey program, but we don't think of it like that. We really want to think of it as, you know, a D1 program, and to develop the players along those lines, to develop the game, Everything from the practices to the, interaction between the players, everything. I think, we think of it as it's already a D1 school, and I think that drives a lot of what we do day in and day out.
All right, Colin, I want to thank you for taking some time to sit down and let everyone see your face and know who's working behind the scenes for UNC Hockey so hard throughout the course of the season. We're going to step aside here for just another moment. When I come back, it'll be myself and head coach Jeff Volkman as we discuss the end of the season and the playoff picture coming up. This is Behind the Bench with head coach Jeff Volkman. Welcome back to our final segment of Behind the Bench with head coach Jeff Volkman. I've got the man himself with me here now. Coach, thanks for joining us here tonight. We've been able to talk to some of the players and the assistant coaches, and it's been great to get to know the organization.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I love to hear from those guys. They work so hard, and this is a great opportunity for them.
And we've gotten a little bit of a feel from assistant coaches Ben Sisemore and Tim Bukowski, as well as the players Jesse Jacobs, Patrick Kramer, and Daniel Jones, about how the team is feeling with where you guys are heading into this weekend. How do you feel about your team's position as you get set for the postseason next week?
From a team perspective, I feel great. We've got, you come into the season early in the year and you've got a process, and we're right there. Guys are getting healthy. We've got great leadership. You've talked to 3 of them tonight. We've got amazing assistant coaches who I rely heavily on, and they just bring a tremendous amount to the team. But we're firing on all cylinders right now, and the guys the tempo's really high. They're working hard, and the mental side of the game is there, which is obviously very pleasing. So I'm feeling good about our playoff hopes. Hopefully we get in. We got to sweat out this weekend. I won't get much sleep, but looks like we're in, and we gotta keep moving forward.
And we took a quick look at the playoff picture earlier. We can get another look at it again here. But you guys are done 10 league games. You do play 2 ACCHL opponents, but you're done with the ACCHL official schedule. So what is the focus this weekend, since to some extent these games don't mean anything towards the postseason? What is the focus for the team going into those 2 games?
Well, you tie it in our habits, and working on the details and little things that really win a hockey game. The mental side, our composure, our discipline. Those are factors that we have to make sure we polish up this weekend, and make sure those don't slip, and work on little things that we've learned from our past few games, and we'd like to see those change and improve this weekend. But this is our weekend to kind of have a good weekend with nothing's on the line, which is great. So we can kind of relax from that standpoint, but we've got our sights set on next week as well. So we're looking forward to coming through this weekend and having a good long weekend, and it's great for our seniors and our guys that are graduating. It's a tough weekend for them. The time goes by very fast, but I'm feeling very good about where we are as a team.
And speaking of where you guys are as a team, when you joined this organization, they were certainly trying to turn things around and trying to figure things out. So pretty immediate result for you. You come in first year, win the Stephen Russell tournament, you win the ACCHL tournament. But in the time that you've been here, this league has gone from 10 teams to 16 teams, plus they've added a Division III league as well with extra teams in that division. So what have you liked about the evolution of the ACCHL, and how does that change the regular season? Because obviously I think when I was in school, just about everybody made the tournament.
Right.
That's not the case anymore.
I love it because that's kind of my mindset, always pushing the envelope and always getting better. It's extremely difficult to get into the playoffs now. We've had a 3-year hiatus, and it's such an accomplishment for us to get back into the playoffs here, and it really means something to get in. You're the top 8 teams, and there's so much parity in the league. Obviously, you've got NC State. They're pretty dominant right now, but aside from them, and I feel that they are very beatable. However, I think this weekend there's a 4-way tie. A very complex mathematic equation and how that's going to work out, but that's awesome. There's 8 teams that are not gonna be there next week, so we have to be very, very proud of what we've accomplished this year, and I mean I certainly am. But the league itself is growing, and that's a testament to our commissioner Mike Wahl.
And you talk about the parity in the league as well. When I take a look at the 9 losses, regulation and overtime that you have this season, only 2 of them have been by more than 3 goals. One of them by 3 goals. It included an empty net. The rest were by 2 or less. How does it feel to, even when you're losing, be in games and be competing right to the finish?
That's the beauty of it is, and that's the mindset and the mentality side is, we're constantly confirming with the team that we're a very good team and we're in a really competitive team. We've been in it with the top seeded teams, just this past semester. When we're losing games, we're losing because of, mental breakdowns, technical mistakes. But we're there. We deserve to be in the playoffs. We're a very good team this year, and I couldn't be more proud.
And when we look at teams like NC State and George Washington, those are the 2 that are losses by more than 3 goals. Mm-hmm. What do you take away from those games when you play? You mentioned NC State, kind of that top-tier talent in the ACCHL. What do you learn from playing a team like that?
Well, it's a measurement. The GW game that was a tough game for us. We had lost. I think we were down to 11 or 12 skaters. It was our 3rd game of the weekend. That's no excuse. It was GW's 3rd game of the weekend. I think we could match up very well with our full team with them and come out victorious. NC State, that's a whole other animal. We're going to have to really be very systems-oriented and disciplined, and the stars will have to align. But we are confident. When we played them the first time, for what it's worth, that first period was one we'd like to put behind us. But we beat them the 2nd and 3rd period, for what it's worth. It may have been how they played and how we responded. However, it just showed you that you have to play 60 minutes, and it does come down to one game. It's single elimination. And I've been around hockey enough to see that, anybody can beat anyone.
All right, well, one more real quick question for you as we wrap this up in the final minute. With all that said, what's the final message for your team as you head into the weekend?
The message I have to my team?
Yes.
Well, they know what they need to do at this point. And, it's our job as coaches to be the rudder and make sure they stay in line. We've got a tremendous locker room. They've built up some great habits in practice, off the ice. And we need to make sure as coaches that we make sure that we translate. They need to bring that to the game for 60 minutes. And if we do that, we've got a serious shot of advancing through the playoffs.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us tonight, and good luck this weekend and into the postseason.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that will wrap it up for Behind the Bench with head coach Jeff Volkman this week. We'll be back on the airwaves on YouTube this weekend as the Tar Heels take on the Duke Blue Devils at 3:45 on Saturday. That'll do it here at Top of the Hill. Thanks for joining us here on Behind the Bench with head coach Jeff Volkman.